It's that time of the week again. We hit the links, get into a little golf talk with the Action Network's Jason Sobel. I'm Adam Kaufman. Jason, of course, you were busy at Augusta like so many others, although a very exclusive group because, I wasn't there. But Hideki Matsuyama coming away with his first green jacket. He is the very first Japanese man to win a golf major. Incredibly special for him, for the sport, for so many. What was the experience like? And just the fact that it was kind of anticlimactic only in terms of the golf itself.
Adam, first of all, I sent you the invitation. It must have got lost in the mail somewhere. You were supposed to be there.
Was it an Evite? I never checked those.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. That's how the Augusta National usually sends out Evites. That's how they do it.
That's what I
thought. But as far as Hideki Matsuyama, you're right. It was anticlimactic at the end. To his credit, that's because he went out there and balled out from the time the weather delay ended on Saturday afternoon at 5:15 local time. He went 6 under for his last 8 holes, 1 eagle and 4 birdies, and then really just put the thing away and just kind of gave everybody the Heisman on Sunday, where he shot 73 and no one really kind of attacked him from that list of contenders right beneath him. And so great playing by Hideki Matsuyama. We've been waiting for a big week for him for a long time. He hadn't won in nearly 4 years, just like Jordan Spieth the week before at the Valero Texas Open. And now he's got to win, and it's going to be huge over in Japan. He was already a superstar there, a golf-crazed country. It's just going to keep growing and growing over there. He said afterwards, I hope I inspire and motivate some young kids to start playing golf and become really good and start playing in major championships, playing the Masters. But I want them to know that 7, 8, 9, 10 years from now, I'm still going to be around. They still have to get through me.
That's what I like to hear. Obviously, Matsuyama's not taking part in the RBC Heritage this weekend, but it is a pretty stacked field, all things considered, on the heels of a major. You have Webb Simpson, the defending champ, at the top, the favorite on the DK Sportsbook at plus 1,100. Are you riding with him?
I'm not. I was a little surprised that Webb Simpson was the favorite this week. I think it's a reaction to, of course, Dustin Johnson's miscut last week, and really he hasn't played well in about a month and a half. And so that surprised me. I thought that Dustin Johnson, the number 1 player in the world, would still be the favorite in this field. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with it, though. Webb Simpson, obviously the defending champion, has played very well at this golf course. This is a course where certain players tend to be horses for the course year after year after year. And Webb Simpson is maybe at the top of that list. So I'm not going to play him at that number, but for DFS lineups, for other purposes, for your office pools, yeah, of course, it's hard not to like him this week.
We expected Dustin Johnson to be in contention at the Masters, obviously going in, and, disappointing. It was not the tournament that many of us, or certainly he, expected. And so is he able to put that in the rearview mirror here and sort of ratchet up the enthusiasm for the tourney after the, a major in the Masters, especially coming in, looking at the odds? He's second on the board at plus 1,250.
If there's one guy who can put some poor play in that rearview mirror and not look back, it's Dustin Johnson. He is basically built for coming back from these mini slumps. Last year we saw it where he shot 80-80 at the Memorial Tournament, missed the cut. The next week he shot, I think, 78 at the 3M Open and withdrew. And then after that, he just started winning everything. And so it doesn't really make sense when you look at Dustin Johnson. So based on the way he's played, like I said, recently hasn't been very good, but he can turn things around in a hurry. It's not a great golf course for him. I think it levels the playing field a little bit. His advantage of driving distance is negated. And so I don't think it's a great place for him, but depends how motivated he is. He's from South Carolina. This is one of 3 events now in South Carolina that we'll have over the next 2 months. And so being back in his home state, if that's an inspiration and motivation, if he really wants to go out there and prove something to himself and to other people after last week's miscut, who knows? He could have a really good week.
Will Zalatoris, Jason, is kind of the darling of the golf world right now. I don't think he's actually old enough to legally rent a car on his own, but he finished second at the Masters, and now looking ahead to the RBC Heritage, he is plus 550 to finish top 5. He's plus 2,300 to go out and win the thing. What are your expectations for him?
He's not that young. I know he looks like he's in high school. He's older than Colin Morikawa, older than Victor Hovland, older than Sung J M, Joaquin Niemann, Matthew Wolff. So, I mean, I get it. The guy looks young, and I get that his story has had a trajectory that's going basically straight upwards, but he has been around for a few years now as a professional. I think that it's going to be really tough for him to basically come back after last week's title contention at Augusta National and play his best golf this week. I've gone over the numbers, 10-year trend when the RBC Heritage is following the Masters. Usually the guys who contend at Augusta National, who go to Hilton Head, don't contend for a second week in a row. And so Zalator is a bit of a fade for me. It's not a full fade. It's not that I don't like him. I certainly love him long-term. I think he's going to be a good player for a very long time. But for this week, I think there are better plays on the board.
But at least as he acknowledged, if they make a sequel to Happy Gilmore, he's all lined up to be the caddy. He's ready.
You know you've made it when Adam Sandler starts tweeting at you.
Let's talk about Abraham Ancer, who was the runner-up at the RBC Heritage last year. And coming in this year, he's at plus 3,000 odds to win. What do you expect from him?
Yeah, I like Abraham Ancer here. His ball striking that final round last year was absolutely brilliant. If he could have made a few more putts, or if Webb Simpson could have made a few fewer putts, then Abraham Ancer would have a PGA Tour win under his belt right now. As it is, he's still searching for one. Again, at that number, I like him. We talk about Abraham Ancer a lot. He's one of my favorite players to bet, and he hasn't won, though, yet. He's very consistent. He contends for golf tournaments. I think he's going to play well again. But, again, you got to think when you're betting on these things and you're betting outright, you've got to know that you're betting on Abraham Ancer at 30-1 this week against like you said, pretty good field on something that's never, ever, ever happened before. I'm not sure I love the number, but I do like Abraham Ancer, and I don't want to be shut out when he finally does win a PGA Tour event because I do think it's coming very soon.
Is there a long shot number you do like?
Yeah, there are a few of them. You look at the big numbers next to a name like Matthew Neesmith, another South Carolina native who has played really good golf this year. I don't know that I necessarily want him fully outright, maybe a little sprinkle on outright and some top 10, top 20 props, but a really good ball striker should fit this golf course. Doc Redman is another young guy that I think is a really, really good player. At some point, it's going to click for him. Hasn't yet in the first few months of this year, but he's shown that he can compete and contend on this level. I wouldn't be surprised to get him on the leaderboard at, again, another big number. And then I'd throw another Carolinas guy. He's more North Carolina than South Carolina, but Chesson Hadley, a guy who's shown some form recently. Big numbers next to all three of those guys' names. So I think there's a lot of value on this board this week.
Who's the fade? Who are you staying away from this week?
Probably Dustin Johnson. Looking at the number, for some reason, a few years ago, Matt Fitzpatrick said Harbor Town is his favorite golf course on earth. And so every year, the books overvalue him, the bettors overvalue him. Everyone thinks that Matt Fitzpatrick, just because he loves this golf course, is going to go out and win the golf tournament. So far, he's played it 6 times, doesn't have a single top 10. So I think there's too much value on too much overvalue on Matt Fitzpatrick right now. So he's a fade for me just based on the price he's at.
Finally, as I always like to ask you, who is going to win this tournament? Who is coming away with the trophy at the RBC Heritage?
Favorite outright play is a guy who was in mini contention last week. You know, he was up there at least, didn't quite finish it off the way he wanted to. But Brian Harman finished in a share of 12th place last week. He was the last man into the Masters field. Remember, just a few weeks ago at the match play, he was 4 down to Bubba Watson early, came back and won 7 holes in a row and beat him. Based on that match, he got into the Masters. Based on how he played in the Masters, I'm going to say this should be a really good course for him. Only 2 top 10, surprisingly, in 11 previous starts, but he's running hot, and this should be a good week for Brian Harman.